Welcome to this session that we have called Expanding the Space Frontier in the Arctic. So we are heading towards the space, but also down to the ocean floor. We're taking the whole range. My name is Merete Christiansen. I'm the Managing Director of Aquaplan Niva. At Aquaplan Niva, we are specializing in aquatic environments, and we work to ensure sustainable development in our coastal areas and offshore. We would say that we are in the forefront when it comes to using autonomous vehicles and remote sensing for environmental monitoring. We will come back to partly that in this session as well. Tuesday, there was another side event on space, organized by the Norwegian Space Agency. I hope that many of you managed to attend it. Because in that event, the focus was on the overall management of the space and how space-based services can be used to build a better and safer life in the Arctic. In this side event, we will continue with a deeper focus on the commercial opportunities related to the space industry. So we have divided the session in two parts. First, we will have some presentations that can showcase how we can foresee the future development of the space industry. They will give some insights in how we are working today and how we can work in the future. In the second part, we will have a panel discussion, or hopefully a conversation, where we will examine the opportunities and challenges facing the space industry and discuss how we can collaborate to unlock this full potential. So the event is organized by Aquaplan Niva, Kongsberg Satellite Services, and the Earth Observation, Jordobservasjon. Yes. Then we will start then with the presentations, and I will invite First, Nina Soleng, who is head of communication in KSAT, or Kongsberg Satellite Services. She has over 15 years of experience in the satellite industry, holding various roles within the company, included market developer for satellite-based surveillance. In her current position, she leads the communications teams at KSAT, leveraging her extensive knowledge of both the industry and end-user segments. Please, Nina.
Thank you so much, Merete. I would like to start with this. 1968. This is ESRO 1A, I think, or is it 1B? There was two of them. It was the Aurora and the Boreas scientific missions to explore and gather data regarding northern lights. This was a joint venture between NASA and ESRO, which was a precursor to what ESA is today. And this satellite, or these two, when they were launched, were supported by the help of the world's most advanced satellite ground station here in Tromsø, established in 1967 with a computer. This was before NASA had it and CNES had it. So that's really something to be proud of, I think, also for Tromsø. Today, still the world's most advanced ground station. And today we don't only hear the ping, we download data, we upload commands, but from last year we also actually fly the satellites. We do satellite control, we do mission control, which is a higher value offering. So yeah, as advanced as never before, ever before. So perfectly located. There's been a lot of talk about location this week. That also goes for ground stations in the Arctic. And why is that? Just a crash course for the ones of you that don't know this, that the satellites that we work with, they go in an orbit that takes them over the poles every time they come around the globe, which is actually 14 times a day. They only spend 100 minutes. So this gives us two big advantages in the north. That means that we have frequent coverage, so we have a lot of access to data, which is great, and also we have the ability to download the data very quickly. So from the station here in Tromsø, and then the next step was, okay, what happens? Can we go even further north? What could happen then? What happens then is that at Svalbard, we can see the satellites or talk to the satellites every 14 times they pass over the pole. That is unique. There's no other place in the world that has this capability. So that's why this has become the most sought after place for customers to download their data. The same goes on the other side. We also have a station in Antarctica, which is also our fastest growing satellite ground station, co-located with the Polar Institute. And then also now, today, it's spread all over the world because nobody wants to wait for anything anymore. Of course, so, data gets old very quickly. Especially when you're going to use it into your operation. So this is what it looks like today. Okay, but it's not all about the antennas. We're not only a modem to space. That's not the only thing we do here. We actually take the data, take it in-house, and turn it into valuable information. So these satellites that fly around the Earth, they gather a lot of important information that is very useful to us. So our task, and I think we will touch upon this also in the panel later, where is the growth, and is to turn that data into valuable insights. And some examples, oil spill detection is something that we have done in Norway since the 90s. We do this as a critical part of Norwegian preparedness and response. We do it in Europe for European Maritime Safety Agency. We do it in the Middle East, Brazil, Australia. Weather, super important with good weather data, good forecasting, and we see now a lot is happening on the weather data as well. But large part of the world's weather data is downloaded up at Svalbard. The NOAA-NASA satellites, the EUMETSAT satellites, and even now a new European one which is focusing on Arctic weather and polar lows. Ice information, icebergs. We can talk also more about that. We have some nice collaboration on that, again with an operational perspective, which I guess is a key for us. Vessel detection, traditionally for fisheries management, traffic control, but we see now also more on the looking for dark targets and vessels that for some reason are not reporting who they are or where they are. And of new things, we see emissions monitoring. New sensors can give us insights into methane and CO2 plumes. So that is something new and interesting. So just a couple of examples on some collaborations. We have launched last year a collaboration with the Norwegian Geotechnical Institute, where we are looking into movements on the ground using satellite data. We can actually detect down to millimeters of change. So this is called INEO, where we are working together. We are providing the information, and they are providing their expertise. So there is a website for that. And then just to mention, it's difficult not to acknowledge what have been talked about this whole week. The geopolitical situation that really gives us the urgent needs for security, preparedness, for resource management, logistics and transport. Norway's role as the NATO's maritime eyes and ears of the north. And satellite is the key, is an indispensable tool to ensure this. And just to show you, so there is the combination of different sensors. It's very effective to use satellites. We can cover big areas in the dark, in clouds, and also combine and fuse this with other types of data to get that all-important domain awareness that has been talked about a lot this week. So I just want to mention another thing that we did last year, which is a cool thing in the Norwegian space industry, is that there are now new startups, space startups in Norway, and Vake is one of them that has developed AI technology to track vessels across different data sets. So KSAT, we bought the majority of shares in that company last year to further improve and develop those services. So I'll just finish with this one. Norway has gone from being a space niche provider. The niche services and products that we have delivered and provided have always been world leading, but now we have gone from being niche to being a space nation. Today we are able to deliver the whole value chain, from actually building satellites and advanced sensors to very soon launching them, supporting with ground network, and then on the there we go. On the furthest right side is where we turn that data into actionable information, and where the magic happens, as we call it, when all this technology becomes the valuable insights in the hands of the end user. So I think that's what I wanted to start with, and then we'll continue in the panel after. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. So we know that Tromsø is named the Arctic capital, but it's also the Arctic space capital, or Norway space, or maybe Ketil Olsen, who is coming next, will dispute it a little bit, because we have another important place when it comes to the space. Ketil Olsen is the CEO and president of Andøya Space, a Norwegian aerospace company. Prior to becoming CEO, he brings a wealth of experience to his roles at Andøya Space. He's a retired, doesn't seem retired, but he's a retired vice admiral with 40 years of service in the Norwegian Armed Forces. And he has extensive management expertise and experience both nationally and internationally. Please tell us about Andøya Space.
Okay.
Norway has been at the forefront of auroral research for centuries, and the research spawned a highly capable science community that studied the phenomenon from the ground. In modern times, advances in rocket technology meant that the aurora borealis could be studied from within. The scenic island of Andøya, located in northern Norway in an area where the northern lights appear frequently, was chosen as the launch site, and on August 18, 1962, the very first Norwegian civilian suborbital research rocket took to the skies. From there, Andøya Space was born, enabling scientists to explore Earth's atmosphere. For 6 decades, Andøya Space has stood shoulder to shoulder with scientists, engineers, customers and partners in countless missions to explore the unknown, test new technology, inspire and educate the next generation explorers, and move our world forward. We are now ready to lift Norway's space industry up to a new level by building and operating a launch facility for small satellites. Together, we empower explorers.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the echo, but location, location, location. Welcome to the Arctic, welcome to Andøya, and welcome to Andøya Space. Today's society is completely dependent on satellites. Important and critical infrastructure for a modern society definitely rely on these services. They help us with everything from communicating with each other, oversee ocean and land areas, monitoring navigation, weather forecasting, rescue operations, and much, much more. But with the changing global security dynamics and a less stable world, we need to secure these services, and we need the capability to quickly replace satellites should the services be cut off. Norway has all the advantages to become an excellent provider of what we call responsive space. On the island of Andøya, as you see here, the red dot there, you will find great logistics with an airport, with a seaport, and now also with a spaceport. Our geolocation is absolutely ideal for polar and sun-synchronous orbits. We don't need to fly over other nations to launch into orbit, and there is no air and maritime traffic congestion, to be honest. But we have weather. Actually, we have a lot of weather that may be challenging sometimes. But equally important, it is that Andøya Space has highly competent personnel and more than 60 years of experience in military and research space activities. We have launched more than 1,200 rockets from this place since 1962. And last but not least, we probably live in the most stable political area or region of the world. Well, let's see what happened to the government today, but anyway, in general, it's a very mature democracy. I'm not going to talk much about this because you talked about it the whole week, I think, but the global security system is really in motion. But for us as European citizens, we need to be aware of the security situation in the Arctic. We need continuous situational awareness, and you heard Nina talk about that, and an updated picture from space and to the seabed. So let's take a step back and look at it from the political side. This is a Norwegian space policy which passed the parliament in 2020. You see the main goals. The main goals, they are actually what you would expect from any nation operating in space. But what I want you to focus on is the lower right-hand corner, which is where you see the Norwegian value chain for space. And you heard Kongsberg Satellite Services, actually the world's leading provider of ground network services, which is a major player in the downstream value chain. Space Norway is operating 2 satellites now. What is the ASBM, which is, of course, the Arctic Satellite Broadband Mission, where US and Norway, for the first time ever, provides broadband in the Arctic. The Norwegian Defence Research Establishment, they have built satellites for more than 15 years now, and now Kongsberg NanoAvionics actually do the same. And now, with a spaceport available, this almost completes the Norwegian value chain for space. This is the current Andøya Space, defense and logistical ecosystem that we will continue to expand over the coming years. The Norwegian state owns Andøya Space in order to have national control over launch space for small satellites and test facilities for the Norwegian Armed Forces and also for the Norwegian defense industry. And we are expected to provide infrastructure for technology testing and scientific research, both for commercial companies, for the research community, of course, and also for the public administration. And with this mission statement from our owners, we're looking for new ways to use today's infrastructure and competence as an excellent starting point for further expansion, to create value within the space domain for both Andøya and also for Norway, and also for the region up here. Because the economic perspective in space is extraordinary. As the activity in space is accelerating, McKinsey estimates that the global space economy will be worth $1.8 trillion in 2035. It's even above the welfare fund in Norway, I think. Goes up from 630 billion in 2023. We intend to embrace this opportunity and take a piece of the cake. And we see a new industrial opportunity in the upstream value chain as our best opportunity to support and strengthen the Norwegian competitive advantage. I was asked to say a few words about how Norway can contribute to a stronger space in Europe. The consequences of losing civilian and military access to space will be significant. We today all rely on space-based communications, intelligence, and navigation. Entire systems and entire societies are reliant on space. The defense industry makes up a significant proportion of space activity and drives actually today much of the innovation that we see. Integration is vital, I think, from space or between space, industry, and defense to foster an innovative space sector and ensure our sovereignty and strategic autonomy. And Andøya Space is a natural node in this, with our 60-year heritage in space. Norway has had space research activities at Andøya since 1962. We work closely with NASA from the US, DLR from Germany, JAXA from Japan, and later we started working closely with and supporting the defense sector that actually happened back in the 80s. We have seen, as I see it, a transformation from science and traditional military capabilities working side by side, but not really together, to a more integrated approach with advanced technology networks. Andøya has developed from a conventional sounding rocket and surveillance base to a multi-domain arena where we, in the near future, will see an upstream hub with defense and space capabilities, as well as ground-based instrumentation for space situational awareness and space surveillance and tracking capabilities. At Andøya, you will find satellite stations, drone operations, and space launch capabilities. And now, with the Technology Safeguards Agreement in place between US and Norway, this paves the way for what was stated in an article last week in High North News called a robust security architecture in a region of rising strategic importance. That will require further build-up of Andøya Space and the spaceport, as well as infrastructure to support these initiatives. Together with Andøy Municipality and the spaceport as well, and Nordland County and SIVA, we intend to offer testing, qualification, and lab facilities for startups at Andøya. We will achieve this goal through collaboration with academia and industry to develop strategic partnerships develop strategic partnerships that position Norway as a key player in the global space industry, and Andøya, as I mentioned, as an upstream hub in Norway. For Norway and her allies, this is about sovereignty and strategic autonomy. If we are to succeed, we need Norway and EU, since we're not a member of the EU. We need both to release all good forces that can contribute to European independence in space, which means to open up Andøya Spaceport as a European access to space. We will sooner, rather than later, need a European responsive space capability, and it will need to be defense-based. This will require a very close dialogue and collaboration between the defense and commercial actors based on what is known as a dual-use technology, and I understand you've been talking about this week as well. As civilian as possible, but as military as necessary. So to my last slide, we need to ramp up the effort for a European multinational collaboration in a responsive launch capability to replace a damaged satellite or, for instance, to augment existing constellations. And from my point of view, a perfect example would be a German rocket with a NATO payload launched from a Norwegian spaceport. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Kjetil. I like your statement, we empower explorers, because that's what we need. And I think some people would say that Andøya is actually a hidden gem. Not for you, of course, but I mean, it's far out, it's in the rural areas, and still you are building up a really innovative industry. And I think that's something we should be proud of in Norway, as well as KSAT are building up here in Tromsø, that we actually managed to use our locations for the best. So now we will move towards using some of these technologies. Lionel Camus is a senior scientist and manager of digital solutions at Aquaplan Niva. He has over 22 years of experience in Arctic ecosystem studies, focusing on pollution impacts and environmental monitoring. In the recent years, he has coordinated our research involving autonomous marine technologies, such as gliders and digital data management platforms, to study marine ecosystems and climate change effects. So he will touch upon how the integration between subsea, of ocean surface and space sensors can enhance our understanding of the Arctic environment and contribute to sustainable development, hopefully, in the region. Please, Lionel.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this very nice introduction. And as you can see, the title of the talk is about the sky meeting the ocean, as it was said in the introduction. It's as well about penetrating the depth of the ocean. Most of you have probably seen this concept made by NTNU, this inverse pyramid, where you actually have subsea observing technology like gliders, autonomous vehicles, surface vehicles, drones, and also satellites. And this is the application through a project that will exemplify what I'm trying to explain now, especially through the LIDAR technology, which will help us to actually penetrate the first meters of the water column, about 30 meters down to 50 meters. And the surface vehicles, so we have a fleet of 4 like this in Aquaplan Niva. It's actually an autonomous sailing boat, giving information on the surface of the water. And then subsea vehicles like that one, we have 3 as well, collecting a lot of type of information on the biology. So, but most of the focus of this talk will be actually about sustainability, how we can use these assets in an operational manner to enhance sustainability. So the context is that one, especially in Norway, where the aquaculture industry is growing. And as you can see, you know, to fish, to feed the salmon, you need protein. And today, a lot of this protein comes from the sea. And small fish are caught, transformed into fish feed for feeding the salmon. And as you can see in blue, the capture of wild fish is getting more and more steady. So we are running out of resource to feed and to sustain this aquaculture. So fish feeds. It happens that actually in Lofoten, Vesterålen, that was well presented, you have a huge resource which is Calanus finmarchicus, which is a little shrimp. And the question there is, can we use this as a resource to make fish feed? And indeed, today, so again, very beautiful picture of the Lofoten area, you have a company called Zooka, or Calanus, that is harvesting this Calanus. There is a fleet of about 3 to 4 vessels doing that. And it's transformed into fish feeds, but also into supplementary, dietary product. So harvesting this could be a way to produce sustainably fish feed. So if we do that, but then we need to manage this resource. And how can we do that? So this is where Europe was interested into one of the proposals we submitted to actually develop an operational system made of this different observation technology to manage the resource and beyond, to help out the fishery. So it's together led by Norway, together with Cyprus, Alfred Wegener Institute, Sopot in Poland, and also the Air Center in Portugal. So basically, this is the fishing fleets going around, and one of the big challenges that they have is to find the resource. So if we observe in real time where the resource is, we can quantify it as well. We can provide information to these fishing fleets, and they will reduce CO2 emission by consuming less gasoline. So overall, we want to help the management, the authorities, to manage the stock. We want as well to support the fishery, to reduce search time and fuel consumption, to minimize the bycatch. As you know, it's an area where you have cod, haddock, herring, so we have to make sure they are not caught as well. And in the end, we want to provide a sustainable source of protein for fish feed, for sustainable aquaculture. So it's a lot as well about CO2 reduction, so benefit for the society. So the approach is to use remote sensing for large-scale mapping with this new LIDAR technology, so penetrating the water. It's to use surface vehicle that we can deploy in the sea for months, up to 3 months. So, and actually the fishery happens for 3 months, from May to June. And we want to deploy subsea vehicles like this one, and they are rigged with imagery sensor catching pictures of these organisms, and we can also quantify them. So indeed, if you want to become operational, you need to as well have a remote operation center if you want to manage your assets, stream the data, and put value into the data. So this is something we have also developed in Aquaplan Niva. So together with Kongsberg Digital and Kongsberg Discovery, we have developed a Blue Insight digital data platform to integrate all of this data and push the data into dashboards for the operations. Some example of what we have done last year. So the project started last year. So this is the map of the Lofoten area where you have the altimetry of the sea, so to find where the eddies are. And then you have the track of a research vessel from Tromsø University that was with us for a couple of days, the sailboy and the glider. So we started to collect data in this specific area. And this is at the beginning of process data. So again, this is this little sailing boat, the sailboy. And you see below the sailboy the echogram, and the white patch, this represents the detection of the calanus. And process data with a heat map, which shows in red where we saw the most intense patches where actually you can send the fishery. So this is the beginning, and the intention, of course, in addition, is to correlate with a space observation. So there we have different ocean color type collected from Copernicus, and now the scientists are working to make this overlay. And then we started as well to extract data from this LIDAR technology, looking at the orbit, whether it's passing above this area, and starting as well to extract the data in relation to the EcoSonar data we have and the ground truthing. Last but not least, we integrate all of this data into a model that is developed in Aquaplan NIVA through another project financed by the Research Council of Norway. I'll show you a little bit the architecture of the model, but the intention of that is to generate this type of GIS map. So this one is 12-kilometer resolution, but you can go down to 6 kilometer and expand on some specific area. And the intention is to have a predictive map. So you can, again, present this to the fishermen to show where the patches are appearing at the beginning of the season and where these patches are distributing and moving around into Vestfjorden and Lofoten. So the positive outcome, of course, it's a lot about CO2 reduction. So all of these autonomous systems do not consume fossil fuel. So it's battery powered, it's wind driven, it's a solar panel. And then we intend to help out the fishing fleet to reduce time for searching for the resource. And the ultimate objective is to help out with producing sustainable fish feed. And in order to do that, we collect this high resolution data in near real time. It will help us to mitigate as well against the associated bycatch. We are building this prediction model with an operational intent, and we will help out the fishery to reduce scouting time. And last not least, this type of operational system will be as well handed out to the authorities to facilitate the management of this resource. So this is it, and actually yesterday we had our first stakeholder workshop with Zooka, which also helped us to identify the challenges that they have and to also tailor this system to their needs. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Some of you may have seen the cost of going green discussion this morning. This is actually proving that we can reduce the costs of fishing, the CO2 emissions of fishing. So it doesn't have to be more costs. We can actually now use the technology that we have to reduce the costs of going green. Simon Flack, he's our next speaker. He's a space industry coordinator in Innovation Norway. You know a lot about this business developing and innovation. You work on a special assignment from the Norwegian Ministry of Defense to develop space activities relevant to a defense context, but you're also a business developer in general. And you provide policy advice on areas like new space and responsive space. We are looking forward to hearing what you can tell us about innovations and space.
Oh, great. Thank you. The first thing I have to do is to answer this question is sort of give you a bit of a background on who Innovation Norway is, and that is not an easy task. Innovation Norway is a lot of things, but in the space-related context, these sentences, which I managed to find on the internet, are probably the most relevant for this context. Innovation Norway is the Norwegian government's most important instrument for innovation and development of Norwegian enterprises and industry. Innovation Norway helps Norwegian companies to grow sustainably and increase exports, providing access to competence, capital, and networks. Innovation Norway is the Norwegian government's official trade promotion organization, and we represent Norwegian companies abroad. Innovation Norway is the country's official investment promotion agency, so we also help foreign companies when they try to establish themselves in Norway. Innovation Norway, we also handle the EEA and Norway grants, and this helps 10 European countries with their products, but it also enables Norwegian companies to be involved in projects in Europe. The other thing is that we've recently become what's called One Door In. We are the main entry point for companies navigating the totality of the Norwegian support business scheme, or the business support schemes for Norway. Because the support schemes are based on different, some are research-based, some are export-based, some are development-based, some are environmentally based, and companies have projects that usually sort of target all of those, and helping companies navigate different pots of money is sort of a task that we do. The other thing is that we're a bank, and we're quite a large bank, and we combine our banking services and grants together with the other support schemes to help the space industry develop their projects. So based on that knowledge, what can Innovation Norway do? So the first thing is that we are actually in the Arctic. We have 2 regional offices and some satellite offices in the Arctic, so it is possible for companies in the Arctic to get hold of Innovation Norway quite easily. And the other thing is that we have offices all around the world, and this enables the companies that are in the Arctic to contact us and get help to reach partners and business in the rest of the world, which is often important because the domestic market inside the Arctic is quite small, and for companies to be commercially viable, they usually need a customer base that is larger than this region. It's also important for us to understand, and I'm talking to the politicians and administrations in the region, is that Innovation Norway is a support service. We base our work on special assignments from the counties and from the ministries. So if Innovation Norway is to ignite the space industry, we are completely dependent on those mission statements. So currently we have 2 space-related mission statements, and one is from the Ministry of Defense, which was mentioned in my intro, which is focused on increasing exports, innovation, and industrial cooperation. It also has an advisory role, and we do some market analysis, and we have 3 positions in those offices around the world in Washington, Australia, and Brussels. From Nordland County, we have a role when it comes to regional development, and it's focused on attracting foreign businesses to the region. So ISA Aerospace is a big client of ours that we work with. And it's not just attracting them to come here, it's how do we help them set up company, how do we help them navigate Norwegian bureaucracy, how do we help them grow, how do we try to get them to move a factory here, how do we help them penetrate foreign markets so they thrive and grow as a company. The other thing is developing the value chain around Andøya Spaceport. The spaceport, and that's both the space and the non-space value chain. Andøya Space and ISA can't grow on the island if there are not enough restaurants, or if there aren't job number 2 for the employees they want to attract to the island. So there's a saying that a rising tide lifts all boats, and sort of we have that sort of role. I'll talk about that in a bit more detail. And the third one is strategic framework. And I have it on good authority that we get a similar mission statement from the county here. That will also greatly assist Innovation Norway in participating in this Arctic discussion. So the strategic framework, Andøya. This is quite an interesting project and sort of outside the normal thing that Innovation Norway does. But based on the mission from Nordland County, we worked with the municipality and the county to bring stakeholders together on the island. The problem is that there are so many stakeholders, and these stakeholders don't have jurisdiction over each other, and they're often in silos. So in order to get things to work, you need a sort of a common partner that is independent, that can bring these stakeholders together and help challenges be overcome. The first project was 12 million Norwegian kroner, and it resulted in the strategic framework document, which is there. You can download that on the internet. And we're currently in the second phase of the project, which is about actual implementation and making sure that the tasks we defined in the project are now carried out. We wouldn't be able to work if we were alone. So we work a lot with partners. the primary ministries when it comes to space is the Ministry of Trade and the Ministry of Defense. And on that side, we advise on what we call innovation policy advice. We just submitted our advices about the new EU program, or Norway's participation in the new EU program. And we've previously written advices regarding responsive launch and military use of Andøya Spaceport, and how important it is for the military side to get involved in order to ensure the commercial viability of the rocket launches from there. We work together with interest organizations like the defense industry body, the Norwegian Space Agency, the Norwegian Industrial Forum, and now hopefully with Philab we work a lot more. I'm actually on the advisory board, so hopefully we'll do a lot more with Innovation Norway there. And then we work with organizations like New Space North that Kjetil mentioned. We organize events with Tech Tour for investments. We work with the Norwegian Space Cluster and support that financially. And we also sponsor and work with ISABIC. But a picture speaks 1,000 words, and this is probably the best example of how Innovation Norway can help. And basically we help bring people together. So we worked with the Norwegian Space Agency and supported their bilateral seminars, both in Washington and Japan. We've brought Norwegian delegations and brought them to NASA and to companies, Firefly, a potential company that could launch from the Arctic, or that is launching from Sweden. Hopefully we get them to Norway. We've had the Italian space and defense delegation coming here, so then you've got companies like Leonardo and Avio that potentially could be of interest from Andøya. So that's sort of the main role, and we hope to do more of that. So concretely, answering the question, what can Innovation Norway do to ignite the space agency? Well, we're not a space company, but what we can do is we can increase our financial support to the SMEs that are developing these capabilities. We can facilitate trade missions to and from the region. We can better utilize Innovation Norway's global network and promote, using our trade promotion platforms, the companies that are in the region and the region in general. We can attract space technology and expertise from non-Arctic countries to establish in the region. Foreign direct investment is probably the most rapid way for capability development and increased exports, which makes the industry thrive. Attracting risk capital and insisting the startup companies that are here in the Arctic to be able to grow and not have to move to regions like Silicon Valley in order to get their Earth observation company up and running. Supporting space-relevant organizations. So we talked about New Space North and Philab, things like that. Assisting Arctic-based companies in penetrating new markets. And I think a big one is advising the Norwegian government and helping decision makers better understand the opportunities and desired outcomes that we want. You probably think that politicians know a lot. When I started this job, most of the federal politicians that I spoke to didn't even know we had a spaceport. They didn't know that KSAT was the leading ground station in the world. I learned today, actually, that from Equinor that we're the world leaders in sort of some areas of Earth observation. These things we don't talk about, and the politicians definitely don't know about it, and if they don't know about it, how can they prioritize it? So I think that's a big role, and as companies, you can not use Innovation Norway as a lobby organization, but because we provide policy advice, the more knowledge that we have, the better we're able to sort of advise politicians. So with that, I would say please call us. We're here to help.
I'm not sure that we have many politicians here today, but maybe next year we should aim for them to come here as well. I think that, as you say, you are helping. You are a matchmaker in a way for businesses, and that's really important. And collaboration. We've heard several times this week that it's very important. Trude Nilsen is the next speaker. She's the managing director of Jordobservasjon. That's also a collaboration and a matchmaker, if you can say, and empowering others. Prior to this, you served as the CEO as the Tromsø Region Business Association. And that's also business development in a way and collaboration. Please tell us about Jordobservasjon and the Philab.
Thank you. Okay, so first of all, I have to have my words here because I'm quite new in the job. And after 4 months in the space industry, I can just say one thing, and that's wow. We have some really big thing just heading to happen. And it's been going on for several decades, we know that. But now I feel, well, you shouldn't feel, you should know, but I feel like we are on the nerve of doing something great. So hopefully, together, we can take this even further. Okay, so we heard about all the possibilities that is in the industry right now. And the things that I'm going to talk about is how we can actually fuel that to really take off into the new area in the space industry. So, European Space Agency has signed a contract with a Norwegian consortium to establish and operate the PhilLab, the ESA PhilLab Norway, or the Arctic PhilLab that we call it. And ESA is also establishing 14 other PhilLabs around in Europe, so this is going to be a network as well. So a lot of things will happen in Europe in the coming years. So what is a PhilLab? Well, if you Google it, like I had to do, it will say that it's a place for innovation to happen. It's a place for collaboration to be successful. And we can also say it's a place for fast-tracking new ideas, to test the bold concepts, and to turn them into real solutions for space and beyond, of course. And you can say it's a tool to accelerate the space industry. The PhilLab is for research and innovation, and is trying to be a hub for innovation and research to explore, develop, and fast-track disruptive, or at least innovative, new space-based technologies. The objective of the PhilLab is to focus on emerging and disruptive technologies, just like AI or Earth observation, advanced Earth observation. It's to provide and develop the collaboration platform between the ESA, the startups, the research institution, academia, and the private sector, and the public sector, and so on and so on. And it is trying to encourage rapid prototyping and exploration of new technology and support commercialization of the new ideas to strengthen European space ecosystem. So this is a lot of words, but really what does it mean? It means that we're trying to fuel the good ideas on how to make more business in space industry. Okay, the Arctic PhilLab. The focus for the PhilLab in Norway is trying to develop solutions that is based on Arctic needs. The consortium that is operating behind this Norwegian PhilLab is 5 entities. That is NORCE, Aquaplaniva, Norinova, KSAT, and the University of Tromsø. And those 5 together represent the major part of the EO, or the Earth observation environment in this region, and also in Norway, so to say, because they are big players. So what is the budget for this thing to happen? Well, it's 10.5 million euros, and the time frame is 6 years. We can provide a comprehensive package of support for the selected projects. And the toolbox that you can see up on the picture is the seed funding, of course, is a big part of it. But the main part is actually how these experts, like the 5 partners that is behind the PhilLab, can work together to help the business ideas grow. It's project planning, business development, commercialization. It could be coaching within those areas, or it could be technical support, like for data, and so on. The technology, and also issues around legal stuff, like IP and so on. But we're also trying to do some more to access the infrastructure and the facilities, to provide data, to provide drones, and so on, and everything that is within these 5 companies or organizations toolbox, we also can support the project with. And last but not least, a place to work. You can actually come inside to the field lab and work for weeks or for longer periods, and we're also trying to create this network and a meeting place here physically, but also in the network of field labs in Europe. Okay, so it's a tool. It's beside the Norwegian, the Innovation Norway's toolbox, and hopefully in 2 years we will have the first service or product on the market, operational or by payment, we will see. But we have done the first open call, and we just closed the contract with the first company, organization that actually gets support from the field lab. So today I actually have a news to reveal, so you will be the first to know. The first project that goes through the field lab is NGI's ICE-VUE. So that's operational land-fast sea ice monitoring. And now I need my, my notes. The project will go for the 2 years, of course. It's the maximum period that a project can have. And to shorten it down, it's the Arctic sea ice is undergoing major changes, as we have heard all day, both as the result of and the driver of climate change. The ice that freezes along the coast is particularly important, as it affects transportation both on and through the ice. And it provides habitat for marine mammals and influences the entire ecosystem in the area. So the ICE-VUE, this project, aims to develop a method using the satellites to map the ice, being beneficial for local communities, for the industries, and for research in the Arctic. So you may say it really fits into the objective of the field lab. The ice maps can be used both to interpret local conditions for a single ice road or access into a port, as well as to understand more long-term challenges that impact operations around the Arctic sea ice. And we are really excited and looking forward to support this project, and hopefully in 2 years, as I said, we will be operational with this new service. And that's what I had for you guys today, so thank you for my time.
Thank you. And I understand that NGI could not be here today, but of course they wanted to. Thank you, Trude. Then we have given you some pictures, some ideas, some insights into what we are working on in the space industry, let's say it like that. Then we will move on to the next part of the session, like I said earlier, with a panel talk or panel discussion. And then I will invite Aude de Klerk, who is the Head of Innovation Service Section at the European Space Agency. Please, if you take the seat furthest away from me. She is, then, as I said, yes, you can choose. Yeah, I will take this one, since you're the first. Works in the Directorate of Commercialization, Industry and Procurement at the European Space Agency. So she's responsible for overseeing technology transfer initiatives and managing patents for ESA. Very important, the patents as well, playing a crucial role in bridging space technology with commercial applications and protecting the agency's intellectual property. You also, as Trude mentioned, the field labs is also the responsibility of the European Space Agency. And then I will invite Richard Hall, who is specialist on remote sensing from Equinor, with a background in geography and physics, and his expertise lies in interpreting satellite images to help his colleagues at Equinor to make informed decisions, among other things, for delivering high quality and low carbon energy safely. And of course, Equinor is actively engaged in various remote sensing and technology initiatives. You also worked for KSAT here in Tromsø for many years, so you have your expertise also from there. And then Trude, will you come up? And Nina? And Simon. Sit gjerne på, I'll sit at the end here, please. Because then I can see all of you at the same time, not having to check my back.
Just wanting to get organized.
Yeah. Since we've already had the presentations from some of you, I would like to start with Odd and Richard. You will initially have the possibility to present yourself and your work. So if you, Odd, start by giving a brief introduction to the work of the European Space Agency, since maybe not everyone are that familiar with your tasks.
Yes, I'm sure you've heard about NASA, but actually NASA is the American version of ESA. Usually people present it the other way around, but I think we should be proud of the work that we do in Europe. So the European Space Agency is an intergovernmental organization, which means that we have member states. In total, we have 23 member states, among which obviously Norway. And they work together to try and develop really large space projects and technologies, maybe projects that they wouldn't have been able to do on their own. You can think about the participation in international space stations or launchers, etc. But of course, all these countries have their own political agenda and space strategy, and they use also the space agency, the European Space Agencies, as a vehicle to do that. And maybe one thing which is particular to ESA is that we are one of the only space agencies in the world that covers all the space discipline. So from, of course, development of technologies, but also transportation, so launching to space, but also in space transportations, exploration, of course science, and some things that maybe will resonate more in the course of this conference, everything that has to do with navigation, telecommunications, and Earth observations that has been already touched upon very much now. So Earth observation, I wanted to dwell maybe a little bit more here. It's a field that has been growing a lot lately. It's becoming more and more commercial. Typically with Earth observation, what we've seen also during the conference is that we take the pulse and we monitor the planet, climate change, etc. But it's also a vehicle for supporting innovations and development of innovative solutions for industries, and hopefully as well for new business models. And I hope we can discuss that later on. So that's really at the core, and maybe that resonates for this conference. But okay, what I do at the space agencies, I'm not a technical person. I'm working in a directorate which is developing and offering business support services. So we are really helping entrepreneurs, industry and research centers turning their innovative ideas into products and services, commercial products and services. So as part of that work, we're working together on the PhilLab.
And you're financing a lot of this activity as well.
Yes, so basically our partners are the ones doing the work in the country. We believe that they are the ones that really should own this, and they know the ecosystem, they know, we gather the best in the country for the topics that we cover there, and we finance, we support with the space agencies the financing, and also we want to bring what ESA, in terms of expertise and assets, can bring to the different projects in the countries. So really leveraging this network.
Thank you. Richard, a question for you to start with. Equinor is, of course, a well-known international energy company, and we had Hilde Rød, one of your colleagues here on stage previously today. Of course, the purpose I read in your website, I had to Google as well, or search, you say that the purpose is energy for people, progress for society, searching for better. Could you elaborate on how you believe that the space technology can be transferred to the energy industry and how the energy technology can be transferred to space?
Thank you. And thank you for reading our homepage. I think I might get a gold star from our communications department. So thank you.
Good.
Sure.
Why am I here? You said it. It's searching for better solutions. Equinor's role, our ambition, is to deliver low-carbon energy of high value, safely and securely to market, to Europe. That's actually an ambition of ESA, to develop space technology to deliver clean, green energy to Europe safely and securely. Equinor and ESA have the same ambition from different perspectives. How can we collaborate? How can we work together? That's why I'm here. It's the FELAB. The FELAB is an opportunity for ESA, Equinor, and everybody else to come together to work on solutions for the Arctic, for distributed energy systems we heard about this morning, for providing society with clean, safe energy. But working for Equinor, I have to mention safety, and my safety statement is a known situation is a safe situation. And as we've seen from the presentations, satellite data, remote sensing data is key to that, understanding that situation. I'm not going to mention location, because it's been done.
You just did.
You're observant me. But my role is to help colleagues get the most out of this data, to steer them through it. They don't want data, they want information. Because they want to make information to make good decisions. Because if you get the right location, you make millions. If you get the wrong location, it costs millions. So having the right information, the right data you can trust, coming from secure sources, helps us make better decisions. So that's why we're here. But Sentinel, the Copernicus system, has been so successful in delivering high-quality data. I haven't got time to look at all of it. We need machine learning. We need AI to analyze all these data, to find the patterns, to find the information, to make those decisions. What is the FELAB here for? Developing machine learning AI for analyzing satellite data so I can help my colleagues make the decisions we need to deliver on the green energy ambitions. That's why I'm here.
I'm very glad you're here. And as I commented on earlier, the cost of going green is going down with this session, as you know. So yeah, but it's really important to understand that we can actually use technology from one industry to another and then improve both, actually. So that's very good. And then I will turn to you, Simon, because you told about all the good things you can do, but I'm sure you see that there are some obstacles. I know you've been working really closely with Andøya Space Center, and there you have collaborated, and there is a strong vision, a long-term vision, but I'm sure there are still some obstacles too. What do you think are the challenges that we need to look into in the value chain and need to overcome?
Well, there are some huge challenges. Regulation being one of them. Like area planning, like getting the right stakeholders involved so that you can make statutory plans that allow the build out that you want. The other big one is that space is becoming so important. It has always been, but it's becoming a sort of top of mind that it's important for both civil and military security. And the spaceport has attracted now military interest from both Norway and its allies. So how do you create a thriving area where people want to move? So you have tourism and you have restaurants and you have all those things on the same island where you have military operations. That's not an easy task to create the balance for. I think that's one of the big challenges. It's understanding that if you're going to use, I think the statement was as commercial, was it, as possible and as military as needed. So you have a symbiotic relationship between those two. And you will not... One of my biggest advices to the Ministry of Defense was they had to get on board because the commercial companies cannot survive commercially without the military contracts. And the military doesn't have a capability unless there's commercial viability. So that symbiotic relationship has to be balanced. And that means that the Department of Defense has to sort of allow for the commercial environment that is necessary for a company like ISAR to succeed on Andøya. And also ISAR and the area and the municipality and other companies wanting to be there have to be cognizant that the military also have requirements that need to be maintained in order to be able to do their job. So balancing these two is not an easy task.
No. That's also something that we see when we have our submerged equipment, that there is actually someone we have to refer to before we do it. So this is really important, and that the regulations as well. But then, Nina, what do you think are the potential growth areas in the value chain of space?
Yeah, I mean, you just talked about one of the things in that value chain. So if I'm to focus more on what I said on the right side of the value chain, where actually you turn all this tech into information, I think just looking at because this doesn't happen in a Norwegian vacuum. I mean, we're 80% plus export in our company, and I think also a lot of the space industry will be it's a high degree on export. So looking at the trajectory now is that they say 10,000 satellites will be launched in the next 10 years. That's the same as the 60 previous years. What does that mean? You know, that means a lot of opportunities. That means a lot more data. We need to handle the data to get out that useful piece of information. And I believe strongly, like Richard is saying here, that we cannot handle and process all this data without using new technology, AI, and everything. And actually, we had a very interesting project together with Equinor that was presented here last year, where we're using AI to differentiate between signatures of vessels and icebergs up in the ocean. Again, something that finds that little piece of information that goes into the operational side of things. And then we see also development of new sensors. You know, what's going up? What's those 10,000 satellites? Yes, it's more of the same, but it's also new stuff. So hyperspectral, thermal, there's a lot of RF signals. There's a lot of new sensors that we both can improve existing services with, and we can also develop new services. So, but I think, you know, this has to be done in collaboration. You mentioned government, private, or commercial partnerships or collaborations. I mean, Norway now with the new Norwegian national missions, really cool, unique things that are combining several sensors on each satellite. That in combination with commercially available satellites, you know, that will give us that insight, and that's a growth potential. So I see, Ole Morten, I think you said on that 2 days ago that we see now a lot of other countries are looking to Norway. They're looking to Norway now because we have been using this data operationally, this information part, since the mid-90s. So I think that's growth potential indeed.
A follow-up. Is there a security issue related to all these satellites going up in space? Maybe I'm not sure if you're the right to answer, but maybe some people are concerned about that part, but we see only the possibilities. Are there any sort of risks? And maybe another more relevant question for you is, do we have enough competences? Do we have what is needed?
Yeah, and when you say security, you mean
the waste, the things happening with it. Maybe we are not the right panel to discuss it, but I think it's an issue to. So let's move on to the.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
we can. There's two sides of it, and I guess that was also been said here earlier this week. There's no sustainability without security.
Yeah.
And that means so there's a lot of focus on sustainability and situational awareness up in space, and of course, with all these satellites being launched, it's really important that there is a focus and there is a focus, a very strong focus in our industry on that, and making sure that we have a good end-of-life plan for satellite missions. But I think what we could talk more about is that we actually need more information. We need more satellites up there to give us that information here on Earth, because satellites are such an important contributor to the scientific data also. So just an example, the UN has the essential climate variables that measure the development. Over half of them can only be measured with satellite. So I think, yes, security, that goes on infrastructure, it goes on robustness, redundancy. It's been a lot of talk about this earlier this week. That also goes for the space industry, that also has the critical infrastructure. But again, if we have standardization and we have more than one place we can launch from, more than one place that we can download from, that gives the robustness. So we have the security, we can have also the sustainability.
Very good. I'm just wondering, is the space industry receiving more attention now? I mean, saying the word Elon Musk maybe has sparked something. What do you think, Odd?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was touched upon by some of the speakers before. The space sector is completely booming. It's been a few decades now, and that's why commercialization is actually one of the topic on the high objectives on our agenda 2025, because we need to make sure that our talents, our companies are not going away, fleeing to the US or elsewhere where the money will support them to grow. So that's why as well we have to adapt the way we support companies. So yeah, we've seen that there's this shift that has been really traditionally a public-driven type of sectors, and now it's more and more, the private demand is rising, the ecosystem is changing, the traditional players are being challenged by newcomers, and we need to make sure that we have the elements, the business supports to support these newcomers. Hence, activities that we've launched, like the technology brokers, like the incubation centers, so the ISABIC that we have in Norway as well, and now the PhilLabs. We need to ensure that we can nurture this talent. And to come back to what you were saying, yes, we do have a common objective, because one also of the objective of this agenda is deliver space for a green future. So here we meet in the Arctic.
Yeah. Richard, you want to continue to elaborate? You have a special feeling for the PhilLabs, you said. You're really interested in...
Yeah, he's our bigger fan.
I know.
I'm also your biggest critic.
Critics are good fans as well.
No, what was the question?
No, about the PhilLabs. I mean, what do you think is the importance? I will pass on to Trude afterwards, because she's going to work to make this work.
So we need your critic there.
Yeah, so
to help us build it.
To be innovative, you need a safe space. And for me, the PhilLabs are a good example which you have a support network, you have the data, you have the computing power, you have the surrounding expertise from Tromsø University, from NORS, from KSAT, etc. So we can put a team of people into the PhilLab, into that safe space, and innovate. What's important is having the user stories. What is it?
Yep.
Because I go into a room in Equinor or anywhere and go, who uses satellite data? And everyone goes, no, we don't use satellite data. Okay, who's checked the weather forecast? Who's looked at Google Maps? Everybody is integral in our lives. If we lost GNSS or GPS or get Galileo, not only would Equinor come to a stop, but Norway would come to a stop, Europe would come to a stop. So we do use it, we don't
It's
know
vital.
it. It's vital. So we need these labs, these field labs, to generate ideas, to be able to put people into a set and to really innovate and be disruptive. So I see this as an opportunity for disruption, for innovation.
So Trudy, you're in the center of the discussion.
Yes.
What attracted you to the Earth observation and the field lab?
That is a very good question. No, so you said, is it more buzz around the space? I would say yes. And before June last year, I worked with all the sectors in the business life, and also, of course, space. And for the 7 years I was in the chamber, the space was just getting more and more mentioned. But we didn't have a plan like you have. We didn't have like a plan and stuff like that. So when this opportunity came along to build something that could strengthen the position that Norway actually have, and Europe, of course, has today, I was thinking, okay, so this is the opportunity that I really want to take place in, and try to find ways to innovate, of course, and be disruptive and everything, but come together to collaborate, to put these great minds into the same place, trying to create something new and take it to a higher level in a way. So I have great great ambitions for this lab and for the whole network. Like Odd says, they are working with several countries that is getting each of their own file lab.
Yeah,
Richard,
and
you want to?
as I mentioned, we have this avalanche of big data coming towards us. It's a common challenge for different reasons. So we can find a solution to analyzing big data in field lab, and it's with all these different partners. We can all use it individually, but it's a common solution. It's a common challenge. It's a common solution, but we use it in our own way, purposely.
Yeah.
Just to fill on that, because one of the things that I really feel there is also a great potential in is transforming the space into other sectors. The things that we do in space could so easily be transported or taken into use in other part in the communities, and to challenge that in a way. I don't have the solution on how to do that yet, because we are just starting up in a way. I think that it would be very
I think also for me, the field lab as well, having the university aboard is really important, because, I mean, there was one of the young emerging leaders who said that yes, you say we are the future, but we are also the present. And I mean, the young people today, I'm sure they will bring in lots of new competences. You want to comment?
Yes, no, definitely. I want to comment on that and pick up on some of the words actually that were keywords that were given before. So it was collaboration, platform. I like your not a Norwegian vacuum. Yeah, because basically what the field lab is, it is not an incubation center. That's not the idea. We already have, and there are many incubation centers. It's not just an R&D. It's a place to find funding for R&D. It really needs to be an environment when we put around the table the typical players that you would have, okay, the space industry, academia, research centers, but also atypical players, which would be non-space industry, so users, maybe investors, public, private, we have them on board, so that we can really have a test bed for, a safe test bed for disruptive ideas. So that's what we aim to have, and to have this exchange. So I push you to challenge us with some ideas, so that our talents can try and come up with disruptive solutions.
Yeah. Simon, we are very often talking about investments, capital. And of course now, ESA and the Philab, they are placing some money on the table. And the government is placing some money through you and through other support tools. There has also been a lot of talk that in Norway we don't have like these big funds, private funds. How do you see? Is it an obstacle today, or do we get the capital and the investments we need for the space developments?
It's a huge challenge. One is deep tech usually have long cycles of development. Most, just like us, if we want to invest our money, you usually want a short term for your return of investment. The other challenge is, because space is so important for security, is that you need to know where the money is coming from. So one of the big problems we have now, that because defense has been so publicly active in commercial space, is that maybe unlawful players are getting themselves involved with venture capital. Venture capital is very cowboy. Anyone can be a venture capitalist. You basically just say, I'm a venture capitalist, and then you run around and create a portfolio of companies, and then you turn around to larger investors and say, I have a portfolio of companies, can you give me some money? And then you run back to the companies and invest in them. The problem with that is that these companies sign NDAs and they hand over a lot of information. So when a young startup that potentially is in the Philab and they're developing a capability that potentially has national security implications, how do we introduce them to investors? Like we had recently an investment event in Boulder where we invited investors and big names. And then I was handed a piece of paper from the Ministry of Defense with some names on it. And I can't write those names down, and I can't send them in an email. I just have to say, okay, what can I do with these? Nothing. Just give us, just to have a heads up. So it's sort of like those. It's going to be a huge challenge. I'm not sure actually how we do it. I was talking to the NATO Innovation Fund yesterday, and potentially they can be a partner with Innovation Norway at least, and then because they have the resources, because they themselves have to do due diligence on co-investment. So what we need is a trusted investor that potentially we can partner with, that can both attract other investors, but also you do due diligence on those sources of capital. And I think that's going to be a big challenge, because one, it's hard enough to get people to invest in 10-year pipelines, and then you have to find investors that are trusted, that are also willing to invest. And at the moment, the most motivated investors probably aren't the ones you want. So it's a huge challenge, and I have no answer for it at the moment.
Then I will challenge you, because Equinor is a big investor in research and also in new innovative areas. What do you see as potential? What do you want? I mean, what type of competences, what type of ideas would you like to be presented? Is it a big question?
Yeah. We have a few rooms full of that. But when you look at Equinor or any energy company, there's only 3 or 4 tasks. First and foremost, it has to be safe and secure. Safety is always the first answer. But what Equinor does is we look for energy, we find energy. Where is the gas? Where is the wind blowing? Where is the sun shining? That all comes from satellite data. Then we make it. Where can we make it? That word location again. Where is the market? You're seeing the latest thing in energy is nuclear. Equinor is not getting involved in nuclear. We don't know anything about it. But they're looking for sites again, and it's look at Rockefellers. How did they make their money? It wasn't from the trains. It was from the locations of the stations next to the railway. Location is everything. So when we're making energy, it's important. Where can we make it? Where can we take it to? Who can we bring it? The third question, where is the market? At the end of the day, we are selling energy. So we've got to get it there, or we've got to get the market to the energy. Now with carbon capture and storage, and battery technology, storing energy is becoming important, especially in electricity because it's so intermittent, and wind farms and solar farms are so intermittent. So we want technology that finds, locates, sells, and stores where we can do this and stuff, but also battery storage energy. The first solar panels came from space. When we hit manufacturing capabilities, everyone can have them. ESA have an interest in clean renewable energy for their... Can we bring them back to Earth and employ them here? Once we hit scaling, we can do anything we can. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. It's only 4 questions.
So now we can interpret what he needs. Actually, this has been so fun that our time has run out already. Thank you so much for coming to Tromsø, those of you who do not live here. And thank you for the nice discussions. I hope we can continue afterwards as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Can I just have one more point? I hope we see each other here next year and talk more about space.
You're so eloquent. Goed idee. You're so, you know...
Get your ass here.
My ass? She wants your ass. She wants your ass. She wants the back. She wants the back side of you.